Welcome to Ghost Storybook, the best collection of true ghost stories. Today's story is Ghosts of the Himalayas, as revered by the Indian Army. There's just something about a ghost story that makes you want to sit beside a fire with your legs curled up and a warm cup of coffee in your hand, or maybe even scotch on the rocks, depending on what suits your fancy. And now imagine yourself in an alien land with treacherous terrain, freezing temperature, miles away from family and anything familiar. Won't a ghost story spice up your life a little bit? Maybe that's why these legends or ghosts have made their way into the Indian Army's folklore, giving them respite from their tedious and mundane activities up in the Himalayas. The Legend of Baba Harabahan Singhe. Harabahan Baba Kai Jai, says the taxi driver as he crosses the rickety bridge over the Tista River. Harabahan Baba is revered across Sikkim as a sacred entity. But who is he? Late Sepoy Harabahan Singhe was enrolled in the Punjab Regiment on 9 February 1966. Born in the village of Browndoll in Kapartala district of Punjab, he enlisted in the army at an early age and found himself posted on the misty heights of the Sino-Indian border near Natula Pass. The year 1968 saw heavy rainfall and vicious floods in the region. On 4 October 1968, while escorting a mule caravan from his battalion headquarters at Tukla to Deng Chukla, he fell into a fast-flowing stream and was washed away. The search for his body continued for a couple of days, but was abandoned due to inclement weather. And one day, Harabahan Singhe appeared in the dream of one of the sepoys in his unit. In the dream, he informed his colleague that he was no longer alive and told him the exact spot where his body would be found. He asked him to construct a samadhi at the spot where his body would be found. After saying that he will always patrol in the area and never give up being a soldier, he disappeared. The man woke up and dismissed the dream as a manifestation of his grief for Harabahan Singhe's loss. It wasn't until another member of the same unit had the same dream, down to the last detail, that suspicions were aroused. It seemed an incredible coincidence that two people could have dreamed the same sequence of events. When a search party was dispatched to the spot that had been described in the dream, late Sepoy Harabahan Singhe's body was found. He was cremated with full military honors, and a samadhi was made at Chokoya Cho, as per the wishes that he had expressed in his dream. The first part of the dream had been accurate, and what about the second half about remaining a soldier forever? Soon, reports of a man seen patrolling the area began filtering in. Soldiers deployed in the area would talk of a lone uniformed man on horse patrolling the region. Forces on the other side of the border confirmed these reports and claimed that they too had seen the ghost rider. Over the years, soldiers in the area began seeing Harabahan Singhe in their dreams, where he instructed them of loopholes and unprotected areas from where the Chinese could attack. His instructions generally proved to be accurate, and the legend of Baba Harabahan Singhe grew. Meanwhile, the popularity of the shrine was also growing. It gained significance as a religious spot, and people came with the faith of having their problems solved or their infirmities cured by the Baba who had come back from the dead. The samadhi dedicated to Harabahan Singhe consisted of a 3-room complex where a bed would be laid out for him and his uniform and boots would be displayed for the visitors. Caretakers of the samadhi would swear that each morning the bed sheets would be crushed as if someone had slept in the bed the previous night, and the carefully polished boots would be soiled and covered with mud. This conundrum only added to the Baba's followers, who came in truckloads. The Indian Army realized the importance of the late Sepoy Harabahan Singhe, and in honor of his contribution, he was promoted to honorary captain. A paycheck would be sent home to Kapartala every month, and more interestingly, he would go home on annual leave on September 14th every year. Soldiers would pack his trunk with basic essentials, and Captain Haribahan would be accompanied by 2 soldiers all the way to Kapartala by train and brought back after a month the same way. This tradition continued for years until he was retired a few years back. Following the twisted, narrow roads at a steep incline, taxis and cars snake their way to 14,000 feet to visit Haribahan Baba every year. Devout believers from all over Sikkim and Bengal visit the Samadhi, bringing the sick and the elderly in the hope of a miracle. They bring bottles of water and take back those lying there. It is believed that water left at the Samadhi over a period of time turns to holy water and is capable of curing ailments. Food is served to the devotees who make the arduous journey by the soldiers looking after the Samadhi. The Samadhi dedicated to Haribahan Baba is located amidst a beautiful panorama of high mountains, broken in places by gushing waterfalls and dotted by multicolored shrubs. En route, one crosses beautiful lakes and hamlets that resemble something out of a picture postcard. One such village is Kionsla. The ascent is steep and often takes skilled driving. In order to reach the Samadhi, a detour must be taken along the road that leads to the Sino-Indian border, across Natula, which was opened for trade recently. The Samadhi attracts people from all religions. In its own way, it has promoted a certain secular equanimity in the region, a rare feat in today's world. Taxi drivers and soldiers passing through the area generally stop at the Samadhi to pay obeisance to the revered Baba. Not doing so is supposed to bring bad luck. In a society that is dictated by tradition and supported on the pillars of superstition, it is not uncommon to find a legend of this kind. Perhaps the Chinese are just as superstitious as we are, because at the monthly flag meetings between the 2 nations at Natula, the Chinese set a chair aside for Haribahan Baba. And as the red flag, bespeckled with stars, flaps in the icy wind next to the tricolor, a lone figure perhaps stands and watches, ever alert, ever watchful, ever zealous, and ever protective of his country's honor, a zeal that has lasted beyond death. Thank you for listening. Subscribe us for more stories.